Rosemary Rock Evans. Employment, 1971 to 1992. First job, Cyber House. Rosemary's first job was with the British Steel Corporation in Cyber House, Manchester Road, Sheffield. In 1956, Professor Stafford Beer joined the United Steel Companies and persuaded the management to fund the Department of Operations Research and Cybernetics, which was based in Cyber House. But by 1972, the Operations Research Group had been joined by a group dedicated to creating business systems on ICL computers. As such, she became part of a rather privileged group that was brought milky coffee, a cafe latte, and fig biscuits at 11 a.m. and had its own restaurant. And Rosemary had been able to reconnect with two university friends who had stayed in Sheffield, and who remain friends. Val, who was still at university doing town planning, and Peter, who also worked at Cyber House. She used COBOL. COBOL was an acronym for Common Business Oriented Language. It was designed for use in business, finance, and administrative systems deployed on mainframe computers. And Cyber House was tasked with developing British Steel's first payroll and personnel systems such as pensions. So, Rosemary was sent to Glasgow for 6 months, aged 22, to do a review of BSC's pension system. She lived in the Grosvenor Hotel and went to work on Glasgow's underground system, with its tiny trains and wooden carriages and single circular route round the city. Evening activities had to be limited to reading and TV, and some of that reading centered on the topic of databases and especially the work of Charles Bachman, now recognized as a database management system pioneer. Computer Planning Group. Not long after Rosemary applied to be a database administrator in the Computer Planning Group, tasked with formulating the methods that should be used to develop database systems. They were given a course by CACI, and both she and her partner Colin were offered jobs by CACI. And after some intense persuasion by her friend Mel Cole about never missing an opportunity like this as you will never get another one, she took the job. CACI. Rosemary's first job was to write a series of articles for Computer Weekly, and we have mentioned this book in the video books. Meanwhile, CACI had sent Rosemary to teach the methods in Norway, shown here, and in Holland, where one lady remarked that she objected to having a lecturer who was half her age and barely out of school. But then, at 28 years old, CACI sent Rosemary to Belgium on a contract that was supposed to last only 6 months, but lasted for years. She is shown here with Ronnie. Working for the National Bank of Belgium, the equivalent of the UK's Bank of England, Hilda from NBB was almost the same age as Rosemary. She was to have a rented flat on the Avenue Louise and make both English and Belgian friends she has kept all her life. Roger, shown here, who provided an immense amount of help later with the website. Raymond, who later took her round the René Magritte Museum. And Luke, with whom David and Rosemary spent many holidays, the Ardennes, Italy, Czechoslovakia, with his wife Daisy and their 2 children, Dirk and Els, with whom she still communicates. But then she was contacted by Ray Goodsir, who, over a very memorable dinner of lobster in the Place St. Catherine in Brussels, offered her a job with DCE, a startup company spun out of CACI staff in the Netherlands. And after the CACI contract ceased and Rosemary had realized it was another opportunity not to be missed, she accepted. DCE, Database Consultants Europe. DCE was run by Keith Greystoke, Centre, and Mike Broddle, Left. Its headquarters were in Amsterdam. Keith had a friend called Michael York. Michael was a professor of cultural astronomy and astrology in Bath, and he owned a house in the center of Amsterdam, which Rosemary used as accommodation. Initially, Rosemary ran training courses in places like Middelburg with Keith, Amsterdam, and Rotterdam with Ray Goodsir. But Ray and Keith had recruited Rosemary to write a book or books about their methods, and a more substantial series emerged. See our books video. 3 much shorter books were spun off from these larger books. A simple introduction to data and activity analysis. An introduction to data and activity analysis. And data modeling and process modeling. Then Faye Cossar, who went on Michael York's course on astrology, joined DCE as training manager. And as Faye was a New Zealander, she used her contacts to organize courses in Australia and New Zealand, and Rosemary took the opportunity to see New Zealand, Uluru and Darwin, Tahiti and Bora Bora. CSC, Computer Sciences Corporation. Rosemary was persuaded to move to CSC, but after she had taken the job with CSC, she realized that all they wanted was her name. To provide a stamp of approval for a pre-existing method she did not approve of at all. So she carefully extricated herself from this trap, and was moved by CSC out of the way and onto a project in America. But after doing work on a repository and framework project that eventually became an Ovum Company's book, she decided it was time to become independent, and her days as an employee ended. Idea by Rosemary Rock Evans. Video montage by Serge Patlavsky.